Yeah.
His career is over, whoever it is. It's sad, but this is just
What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Bill Forster. This is Real Talk Chronicles. And I have Kevin Branzetti with me tonight. Happy Wednesday. I hope everybody's having a great day. You know, keeping the energy positive like always. Listening to a little Gil Scott in the background. You know how we do with that. Everybody. Yo, this is Real Talk Chronicles. What's up, Kev? How you feeling today, man?
all right, Bill. Doing well. Doing well. It looks like my
Good.
internet is cruding out.
Oh, that's all right. How's the family? Everybody's good?
Family's family's good. Trying to get the little guys to sleep, so there might
Yeah.
be a little noise or mischief in the background at times.
Well, that's all right. So we're going to get situated. We're going to get into it tonight. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host, Kevin Branzetti. And tonight, we are talking about Kawan Bobby Charles, the 15-year-old young man that came up missing uh, in Louisiana. We didn't know exactly what the cause was. At first, they said it was he was killed from the swamps. But with that being said, more details have come out. Kevin and I tonight, we're going to put our thinking caps on. We're going to ask some questions. We're going to try to figure this thing out from the concept. This is Real Talk Chronicles, everybody. If you like it, share it, subscribe to it on YouTube. We try to give you the best content we can. You know, there are a lot of people talking, but how real are they? This is Real Talk Chronicles. Um, so let's start off with this. Janet and Gavin Irving, white mother and son, were the last people with Kawan Charles, right? Kev,
Right.
and this is the site you and I agreed to go on together. You know, we said, you can tell people why you like this site, please.
So, it's very hard to find information when there's a big case. One of the sites I like is a site called Heavy, HEAV, is it
Mm-hmm.
EY.com. It just seems to do a nice job of pulling in information from lots of websites, lots of news agencies, and kind of just do the best they can to give you just the straight facts. You don't usually get much opinion in it. Um, so it saves me the time of having to do research. I've been using it for a number of years for big incidents as my first place to start. So
Good,
that's just my preference.
good. I want to give a shout out to Jose Cambrera, that's in the building, former narco ranger with me, and Latima Brown, candidate for city council, District 17 in the Bronx. Happy birthday, by the way, too. I think I saw that recently. So happy birthday to you and good luck in your endeavors. What's up, Jose? What's up with your man Robinson Cano? Hmm. Banned, right? For the rest of the 2021. Drugs, PD, PED. So anyway, now let's go to this case right here, everybody. This is Real Talk Chronicles, and we're going to talk about this case right here. So this is a 15-year-old young man, African American, and he comes up missing. Nobody knows where he's at. And Kevin, when you get a chance, we're going to break down exactly what a missing is for the people out there in the listening audience. So with that being said, he comes up missing, and we're going to get into the the stats. Reported him missing on October 30th. That day, Kwan was 15, who was black, had been picked up by Gavin Irving, 17, and his mother, Janet Irving, who was 37, according to public reports. So they picked him up. He comes up missing, and then later on, he's found in the. I want to say it's properly. He was. They assume that he was drowned, and he was in the sugarcane fields in rural Louisiana. as they said, authorities used cell towers to locate his cell phone. His face was disfigured, and the preliminary autopsy report cited drowning as the cause of the death. But the sheriff's office has since confirmed that they're treating his death as a homicide investigation. So now I've put, for all those who have looked at the post ahead of this, I put out a picture of his face, how disfigured it was. Kevin, let me ask you a question. First and foremost, from what you saw from an investigative person, does that look like that was just a drowning?
Well, so I mean, there's a lot of things that I believe. If they're saying that he drowned, I believe he drowned. But drowned in this case is not drowned like we're normally thinking of. I went for a swim, I got lost in the current and drowned. I think drowned in this case is his head is pushed into the mud and water and held under until he can't breathe, and you're drowning. You're sucking in the water and the mud, and that's why there's water and mud in his lungs. Okay, so he drowned, but I think it's going to be a forceful drowning. That's why it's a homicide.
Okay, so basically, the term they're playing with worked. So okay, so yeah, we're talking about drowning, but basically because his face was in water. It's not because he just like was just haphazardly playing near to the sugar canes and fell in some water and lost his balance and then couldn't swim. No, we're not talking about this kind of situation. We're talking about a person that honestly was forced to inhale or have water pushed into his lungs. Now let me ask you another question. For the listening audience, can you give them a breakdown, what you remember of what a missing is? What are the status and the qualifications? The 8 to 80. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. So I want to give first as a quick background on myself and what I do now, because it definitely pertains to this case and others like it. So the quick thing is retired from NYPD 5 years ago and now work for another law enforcement agency. But my side job is I started with a couple of friends a nonprofit called the National Child Protection Task Force. And what we do is we help with missing, exploited, and trafficked kids across the country. So missing kid cases, I am involved in quite often. It is a huge part of my life. And I've seen the good and the bad of those, right? I've seen things where law enforcement were, brilliant, and I've seen where they were derelict of duty to, borderline criminal.
So let me ask you a question. With that being said, hold on, stay there with me with that, because now I'm going to really get into what you do and how you do it. How many cases do you think, percentile, do we take? Does just law enforcement, white? We're not even talking about ethnicity of the officer. We're talking about white, black, whomever. Just all law enforcement. Kind of, there's a terminology that we have called shit canning. What do you think? You know what I'm saying? Kind of
too many is the answer.
Okay.
And like this is this is an area I know well. It bothers me a lot. It kind of disgusts me, and it's the next evolution of law enforcement. And what I mean by that was, Bill, when we were young cops, and we never did it, but this is how it was done back then. If you had a 15-year-old girl you would grab for prostitution, we would arrest her, process her, send her to Spofford, or send her through the system, depending upon the age and we know what it was. Where today, we realize, well, that was completely wrong. And just about every police department in the country agrees that's wrong. We do those to recover the girl. And we're looking for who's the person who put them on the street, because usually there's somebody behind them who's forcing them out on the street, keeping them on the street.
Right.
So we recover girls. So we've matured as a police department with understanding 15-year-old prostitutes are not prostitutes, they're victims. And we should help them, and we do whatever we can to help them. What we have not matured in is the 15-year-old chronic runaway. They're kind of just treated, they'll be back when they come back. There's too many of those cases that are just kind of like, he's 15, she's 15, she's angry, she'll be home later, she's with friends.
So Kev, so give the listening audience, and shout out to everybody that's watching. I see you, Felicia, former NYPD sister in the building. What's up, Liz? I see you, Wayne. What's going on? Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. You have your host. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host, Kevin Branzetti. And we're talking about Kawan Bobby Charles tonight. 15-year-old boy in Louisiana that was found dead in the sugarcane fields in Louisiana. And it was at first deemed a drowning. I've put the pictures up right before the show. His parents put the pictures up because they wanted it to be reminiscent of Emmett Till. And it's a lot of disfiguration to his face. We have a white mother and her son involved. We're gonna go through this whole case with you tonight. But I want Kevin to break it down to you on the difference between a missing and a runaway. Go ahead, Kevin.
So that's my opinion. There is none. We should never consider anybody a runaway. A missing should just be a missing, and that's it. But I'll go back to what a lot of law enforcement does is there are too many missings and runaways. So the chronic ones that you see often, the kid runs away, and sometimes it's for a night, sometimes it's 2 nights, or they run away. The runaways from group homes is in the abundance category, like it's done all the time, and run away from foster care happens a lot. They're kind of treated when they're found. When if you work in this field and you see enough of these cases, you realize they are the most vulnerable of people, right? They're running away for a reason. Something's wrong in life. Now, some could just be whatever, they're having a bad day, but most of them are running away because there's something really wrong in their life. And
so let me ask you a question.
Don't get better.
With that, what you're saying, we're not. So you're kind of gauging this, and I don't know percentages, but so we're not talking about the spoiled kid, or I guess you're mixing them up
too.
Yeah, the little brat that needs an ass whipping. He runs away. Mommy told him turn off the PlayStation or cut off the Wi-Fi, and he got mad because he wants to play a game with his friends, and instead of doing his homework. And now we're talking about the child that really has some problems at home, being molested or abused, really abused, and running away. There are 2 different cases out here, people, and let's please understand. And I'm assuming, I don't know. That wasn't my field. I was asked to go into special victims, and I didn't. I think just career wise, I was already someplace else. But I was asked to do that, and I've heard about the cases. There's a difference between somebody making a false case of he touched my child and the child actually being touched. So go ahead, Kevin. I just wanted to make that clear for people out there that's listening.
So back to, I think, the original question, like, runaways and how.
And missings,
yeah. So missings, most of us, like, depending upon the department, and age matters, right? If it's if it's 12 or under 11, depending upon the department, those are a priority. If there is special status with the missing, meaning they're not, they have some. I'm trying to think of the.
What is it? 8 to 80? No. What is it? 8 to a certain age group. Mentally
challenged. You want to help them immediately. If there's signs of something went wrong, we're going to treat it. And with those things, we call them special category. NYPD calls them special category missings. Right. And those require a big response, right? There's going to be multiple units showing up to the residence, and you start off with, some units are in charge of searching the residence. You do grid searches of the area, looking for video, you're interviewing people. That doesn't get closed out until it's closed out, right? Until there's, but then there's the kid, parent calls up, my 15-year-old, he's been gone a bunch of hours, or he didn't come home last night. And sometimes those are treated like, like, he'll probably be back. Has he run away before? Oh, he's done this before. So he's a chronic runaway. And
Mhm.
it's kind of, we law enforcement will do the paperwork on it, but we won't put the a true hard effort into it,
Right.
into going out and finding those kids. And like I've said, those kids are vulnerable, you know, and sometimes, too many times, too high a percentage, it does
Mhm.
not turn out well for them. They
Right, right.
wind up being, they're who gets trafficked. Sex trafficking in this country is runaway kids. That is the number one category. They're not kidnapped. They're not brought in from across the border. They're not, delivered here by some special means. They're runaways. So, with knowing that runaways are the highest category of kids being sex trafficked, it kind of goes into saying we should treat our runaways a little bit better.
Awesome. I get it. I think a lot of times people do take things for granted in lieu of these situations because I think as law enforcement responding to these situations, we don't know the whole detail. We don't know, okay, like, is your kid a brat? And he, like you said, he ran away, where we are not that. I'm gonna say, I shouldn't say we. I'm just gonna say law enforcement may not be that gun ho to deem this as a missing more than a runaway or just a child being spoiled and he'll come back. And you may know that he may have went over to his girlfriend's house, or she may went over to her boyfriend's house, or her girlfriend or whomever, a friend's house, and she's staying there for a few hours, or she could just be in the park hanging with her friends, or the school function, and she just said she ran out the door. I think a lot of times we don't know these situations, and I think as a law enforcement person, you come in, you're trying to make an assessment real quick, good, bad, or indifferent, which could be a problem. You know, in this situation and situations that you've talked about earlier, like, well, this situation, this individual was missing and he ended up dead. There are situations like you just mentioned earlier that a person can become just leave or missing, and then now they become a victim of sex trafficking. So I think there's a lot of components and a lot of parameters dealing with this situation. So I guess the moral of my story right now and what I'm saying is that people should take this very serious. And if your
100%.
child steps away for whatever reason, maybe do your due diligence to find out where they are instead of saying, oh, he or she is bad and they just left. Or the fact that, maybe they really could be snatched in the worst case scenario. I see you, Hiawatha. What's going on, sister? Thank you. Appreciate it. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co host, Kevin Branzetti. And this is the night of the NBA draft. Also, Robinson Cano just tested positive, PED. Um, he's suspended for the year, but we're talking about Kawan Bobby Charles, the 15-year-old boy in Louisiana that was found in the sugarcane fields of Louisiana, and he was uh, came up missing in October 30th, and he was found November 3rd. Uh, for those who are on my page, I think the Real Talk Chronicles page and my personal page, and on the Facebook side, not the YouTube side, I put the pictures of him. And Kevin can tell you, this is the first time I said, well, we're going to talk about a certain topic before the topic came. Because usually I go off the organic aspect of it, or, I just think at the top of my head. But this is something that I wanted to show our investigative knowledge, along with your help, try to find out whether it was this negligence by the Louisiana PD, uh, was it foul play by the Gavins? We don't know. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to read from the site that Kevin and I are on, called heavy.com. And Kevin has said earlier why he likes this site. So I said I'll join this site in regards to this. So we're going to start off with Janet and Gavin Irving are a white mother and son who were the last people confirmed to have been with Kawan Charles before he was found dead on November 3rd. Kawan's family reported him missing on October 30th. The day Kawan, 15, who was black, I don't know why I say was black, he still is black, even though he's deceased, has been picked up by the Gavin Irving, 17, and his mother, Janet Irving, who is 37, according to public reports. Kawan's father, Kenneth Jocko, said Gavin Irving later confirmed to authorities that Kawan came to their home for a while. This means that the Irving family were the last people confirmed to have been with Kawan before his body was found. Kawan, who was nicknamed Bobby, was found dead 3 days later. His body was discovered in a sugarcane field in rural Louisiana after authorities used cell towers to locate his cell phone. His face was disfigured. A preliminary autopsy report cited drowning as the cause of death, but the sheriff's office has since confirmed they are treating his death as a homicide investigation. Kawan's family released a photo of his disfigured face after it reminded them of the death of Emmett Till. Local activist Andre, I don't want to destroy his name as this site keeps jumping. Let me go back to Andre, where's his name? Arson Q, I think, told the New York Times his mother, Roxanne Nelson, told the Washington Post that she wants Janet Irving to be held accountable for what happened to Kawan. Here's what we need to know. So from there, we're going to talk. What do you think about that, Kevin, from investigator? You come. What's up, Nemi? Shout out to Nemi and all NYPD. So you and I respond to this case. These are the facts that we're getting right now. Let Real Talk Chronicles people get into your think tank. What are you thinking?
Well, obviously you're going to look at that mother and son combo, right? Where were they? Time frame. What's the time of death of Kawan, and where were they? They were the last ones to see him. There's two. I mean, to me, there's two possibilities here, right? They did it, or he left them and somebody else grabbed him and did it, right? It's one or the other, but somebody took him there or brought him there and killed him. So they're high on your list. The fact that it says, and I don't know if you had read it at that part, but you read it at some other point, that law enforcement found him because they pinged the kid's phone and they found his
cell
phone.
Yes. Well,
there's going to be a lot of other electronic evidence on who else was there. This is, I don't want to go into what we would do. I don't want to give up too much.
Okay.
Law
I
enforcement
respect
technique
that.
on these things.
All right.
But there are definitely some things you can do to figure out who was at that crime scene at that time.
Absolutely.
And who was in vicinity of him leading up to that crime scene.
I agree.
I actually think it may take a little bit of work, some subpoenas and search warrants to some companies, but I don't think this is going to take very long to solve. I don't. If you whoever left him there with his phone, and his phone was on, they were able to find it because of the ping. Mm-hmm. That tells me they weren't the smartest. Like I said, I expect this to be solved in a week.
Right. Well, a lot of times when we talk about crimes, and like you said, me coming from my expertise, I don't want to divulge too much, but when we talk about culpable mental state and the psychological aspect of things, depending on how this crime happened, if it was a crime, well, it's deemed a homicide now. And if you look at those pictures, there's a lot of disfiguration. Time stamp. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And when I say time stamp, I'm talking about premeditated from actually doing it. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. So I'd like to see how far this is from the Irwin's home where the kid was.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go to if his phone was on, they have a timestamp. that phone is going to tell me exactly what time he got to that field.
Right.
Exactly. So the rest of this, to me, it's almost academic. It's going to be done. Like I have, if this is not solved, it would blow my mind.
Exactly. And I have a question coming up. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host, Kevin Branzetti. And we're talking about Kawan Bobby Charles, the young 15-year-old man that was found uh, dead in the Louisiana sugarcane fields. He was with two white individuals before his demise. His family released the pictures. I posted them right before Real Talk Chronicles tonight to show his face, and they equated it to Emmett Till because they under the impression, and this is where I'm going to come with you, Kevin. They feel that the Louisiana PD kind of lackadaisically handled the situation. They really didn't take it serious because they deemed it a drowning in lieu of that. So I have a couple of questions for you. I see you, Dolly. Shout out to Dolly and them in the building, NYPD in the building strong. They're taking a racial stance on this in a point of feeling that Louisiana PD kind of, as I said earlier, kind of shit canned it. That's a police terminology for anybody that's listening. Excuse me. And how do you find somebody's body? And let me get your personal feeling on this. How do you see his face and equate that to a drowning? Is it a shit can maybe at first initially?
Okay, so and again, I read 2 articles in Heavy, and that's kind of my limited of this. It looks like there's 2 different police departments involved. One where Dad lives, and one where, the Irwins live. I have to pass this over to my kids. Hold on one second.
Go ahead. So I'll pick up from there, everybody. So basically, what this is, Kevin and I talking about Kawan Bobby Charles, and we're putting our think tank on, a think hat on tonight, and we're trying to figure this out because what the family is claiming is a lack of police procedure and negligence in lieu of him being an African American, and the people in question are Caucasian, and they feeling that Louisiana didn't do their due diligence in trying to solve this crime. He was missing for 3 days. He was last seen with a white mother and her son, who was 17, and Kawan Bobby Charles was 15. We're going to read more into this case, but the bottom line is, I was just asking Kevin what was his take on initially what he's hearing from this and what we're reading. Shout out to Cornelius Parks in the building. Cornelius, we're putting on our think tank, so if you ever want to chime in, let me know. I'll send you the link and we come in. We need all the law enforcement help we can do with this. Anybody that wants to chime in from a law enforcement standpoint, we this is what we're doing. So go ahead, Kevin, you're back.
So it sounds like I said, I think there's 2 police departments involved. And the second department, when they were notified, they're the ones who pinged the phone and found them, right? It didn't sound like it took them very long, and got it done.
Right.
He's 15 years old. He left the house. It sounds like his father knew he was leaving the house. Didn't, he said, "Where you going?" He said, I'm out," kind of thing, right? Fine. He's 15. I'm not too concerned with that. The Irwins picked him up. It also sounds like Gavin, the 17-year-old Irwin, was his friend, though Kawan's parents don't know the Irwins, which again, not completely abnormal at 15 for you not to know, all your kids' friends. At 7, if you left the house, I'd be, different, but 15, plausible and understandable.
Right.
So 15-year-old, and I would say what I've seen a whole bunch of times in life, a 15-year-old disappears and there's no signs of anything wrong, right? So one of the complaints was there was no Amber Alert. I put in the chat the rules for Amber Alert. In this case, there shouldn't have been an Amber Alert. You have to have a something to show there was an abduction, right?
So can you elaborate on the Amber Alert for the people that are listening? Because the bottom line is, people may be under the misconceived notion that, I go to the police precinct and the police precinct, and I'll say, my son's missing, and they think Amber Alert may be just administered. Tell them what details that.
So I put the link in the chat so anybody can go look it up from DOJ puts out the rules of this, and basically you have to have a reasonable belief that the kid was abducted. You have to show something that the kid was abducted. We have, unfortunately, too many missing kids in this country, and they can't do an Amber Alert for all of them because then it becomes white noise. People won't listen. You'll get on your phone 25, 35 a day. Are you going to, if you got 25 Amber Alerts on your phone a day, we've all gotten them. They come very rare. You get 25 a day, you're not ignoring them. They become, car alarms in the city. Nobody goes outside and looks for car alarms. Nobody cares. So they had to come up with strict guidelines. And the guidelines are reasonable belief an abduction occurred. Well, there is nothing in here to show an abduction, right? Even the video they show him getting, like he's waiting outside for a car. He gets in the car. They then go back to his house for that car. They all get out, go into the yard, and they get back in the car and leave. That doesn't look like an abduction, right? An abduction would look like the car stops, somebody grabs him by the arm. That's an abduction. It has a weapon, shows something. He got out of the car with the mother and son, or two people from the car, because it's blurry, it's hard to tell. Went into his own backyard, and they went back in the car and left. Yeah. I get that does not look like an abduction. So an Amber Alert can't be given in that case. It's just not. So what happens is the police will take the report. Your kid will go into the databases as missing. So if a cop stops him for something, or if he winds up in a hospital, God forbid, his name is in the system, and people will be notified. But it's not an active looking for him kind of deal.
Gotcha. What's up, Leslie Jean? I see you in the building. It's always good to see you. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host, Kevin Branzetti. And here we are delving into law enforcement mindset. And we're trying to find out more information and give you the best information that we have in regards to the young man that was found dead in the Louisiana sugarcane fields, Kawan Bobby Charles. Initially, it was deemed drowning. After further investigation, and after I think the public, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, after the public got hold of the photos, the family released the photos, it was deemed a homicide. Now, let me ask you that, Kevin.
I don't know if that's true. See, they released that it was deemed a homicide. I don't know if the PD was investigating as a homicide from day one. It's listed on the autopsy. He's drowned, right?
So wait a minute, because I know a lot of times you'll take a defensive approach with PD, but so let me ask you a question: how do we even put a drowning in lieu of a homicide? Help me figure that out.
He technically drowned, right?
No, he technically didn't drown. He technically got killed.
Well, no, he technically drowned because the water gets into his lungs, and that's what ends his life. It's a forceful drowning. It's a homicide. It's death by asphyxiation. It's that but I'm saying is I don't know, and it's hard. From reading this, I can't tell if the PD with the drowning said he drowned and was treating it like a homicide right off the bat, or if they were shit-canning it and treating it like, he drowned, we don't have to investigate this. I can't tell that from what I'm reading. I can't. It's to me, it can go either way.
Let's read more into it, because this is the site that you chose, and this is the site that we picked. So I'm going to go into it. So let me see if I could pick up where on October 30th, Kawan was first believed to be missing when his mother, who had expected to pick him up at his father's house for a haircut at 3 p.m. Still hadn't heard from him by 7 p.m. His father forced down the locked bedroom door. The New York Times reported and found Kawan gone. According to the New York Times, police initially assured Kawan's parents that he was probably at a football game or with friends, and they did not issue an Amber Alert. Kawan's family investigated on their own, according to the Washington Post, and learned that the child had been picked up by Janet and Gavin Irving at around 3 p.m. that day. Don't jump screen. Keep me focused. That day. They then drove to their home in Iberia Parish, a neighboring area where Kawan's body was later found on November 3rd, the New York Times reported. Jocko told the Washington Post that their neighbor, he nor Kawan's mother, knew the Irvings, nor did they give them permission to take their child. He told the Washington Post that authorities had since visited the Irvings' home, and that Gavin Irving, excuse me, y'all, my screen is jumping. Gavin Irving confirmed what had happened to the authorities. So let's stop right there, because I don't want to go too much. So let me shoot holes in certain things. We're talking about
what they're saying is the cops didn't initially, right? They took the missing persons report. They said your kid's probably out playing. He'll be back. And I told you, this is my complaint. And I'll give you a story, maybe a couple of stories. I see this nationally. It's a mistake we make in law enforcement. We haven't matured into understanding missing enough. But the police department said it'll probably come back, because usually that's actually what does happen, right? In this kind of case, the kid usually does come back. But that's where, then the parents did their own investigation. They found out who, the last person that saw them, so that they picked them up. They pushed the envelope there, no question. The cops were not. So that part I have an issue with, but it's not an issue per se with that department for me. I have an issue nationally, because that's how most law enforcement agencies treat this.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. How do you differentiate between the two? I mean, it's PD nationally, whomever. The bottom line is somebody didn't do their due diligence.
Somebody should have investigated from the beginning. They should have looked a little bit further. Like I said, they treat it as he's a runaway. He'll be back.
So okay. Now,
I don't think it has anything to do with
race.
Nah, I see this with every race.
Okay.
I see things that make my stomach turn, Bill.
Okay, no, and I'm not going to say that you don't. What I'm going to ask you is give people a more in-depth insight, because the bottom line is you don't want people to feel that as a white officer that it's just that. See, and that's why I want you to be able to elaborate, if you can, on why is it more just law enforcement protocol than just Kevin Branzetti saying, "Oh, it's not that situation." Were you able to hear me?
I'm sorry, I caught the end of that, Bill. But I told you tonight's one of those.
I got you, and I ain't gonna keep you too long. But basically, I was trying to say that how you were saying it's more nationally than just that police department. And I'm trying to say, please give the people out here some insight into why you would say nationally more than just.
Well, because that's, like I said, what I do in life, right? I help out on missing kid cases across the country, and this is the frustration myself and the others who work with me we work together on these cases we go through. It is frustrating, and it's something we preach, and we're trying to change how law enforcement handles these cases.
Now, stay with me on that, and that's my point, because the bottom line is, for all the racial tension that's been festered in the world today, there are people out here that feel that when they see a white officer and they hear about a case, something like this that has to do with a black person, and they feel that there's some discrepancy, the first thing they're thinking is that you don't care because you're white, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's facts. That's how people do. What I'm trying to ask you, and if you can, and I know without you maybe divulging any NYPD or just law enforcement integral parts of investigation, why would it not be that? Instead of when somebody comes to Kevin, investigator Branzetti, and I'm just going to use the terminology investigator Branzetti
Works
and
for me.
investigator Forster, why would they just come and say, why would we say, listen, it's this by this? Because these are the numbers, basically, and this is how we are deemed to handle this procedure. Basically, give that kind of insight into it, more or less than just saying, well, I'm a black person or a Latin person or a white person, and they come to you and they're asking you, they're saying, oh, we got the case. And investigator Branzetti, what do you mean, you're not going to do this? And what do you mean, why aren't you looking? Get up off your ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's personal to them. For us, it's a profession, but we still have to have professionalism. So go ahead and give us some
Yeah.
insight.
Well, also what we don't know about this local police department, right? I mean, these are from some small rural town. I don't know how many cops are there, right? Do they have the ability to actually investigate? Look, do I think they should? 100%. Bill, they're our kids. Right. They are our kids. And our kids should be treated as a priority.
Right.
Period. Right.
And everybody, let me just interject. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host, Kevin Branzetti. And with that being said, this is something that Kevin does. And if you don't know Kevin like I know him, anybody who knows Kevin, he's very passionate in what he does. So I'm assuming he's one of them individuals that you would want on that case because he's that.
I ain't going home till your kid's found.
Exactly. He definitely is that person that is going to do his due diligence to find out. And this is what we're here trying to find out. And I'm trying to put some clarity on, was this a lack of police procedure? Or is this something where the people of color feel that their child was neglected or wasn't taken serious because of the ethnicity? Or is Louisiana PD just effed up? So, in the next 15 minutes, we're going to try to figure this out before we get out of here. So, it says down in Iberia Parish, Louisiana, a white woman named Janet Irving claims to have picked up a 15-year-old black child, Kawan Charles, from his home without his parents' permission in order to hang out with her son, Gavin. Kawan's badly beaten corpse was found in a lake nearby. Gavin said Kawan got up and said he was leaving. Jocko told the Post. Gavin asked about where Kawan was going, and after that, he disappeared. The Irvings live in a trailer park in Lorkville, Louisiana, and were recently evicted. The Post reported the sheriff's office is charged in the sheriff's office in charge of the investigation into Kawan's death had not indicated that any of the Irvins are suspected and did not find anything suspicious. During a search of the Irvins' home, the Post reported police had also not called the death a homicide. I'm gonna stop right there. What do you think about that?
Well, look, if I was investigating this, and the media asked me, or the family asked me of the victim, do I think the Irwins are suspects? Did I find anything at home? I'm telling them no, because that's what you got to do. Because you can't taint the investigation and give out that information. You just can't. You have to keep that close to the vest. If you think the Irwins are suspicious and on your high list of people who've done something, and you don't have enough to arrest them, I don't want them disappearing.
Okay, so you don't want them. You don't want vigilantes. I get it.
Well, not disappearing that way. I don't mean vigilantes. I wasn't even thinking that, but that's a good point. I was thinking disappearing, leaving, running. The Irwins right now, they're probably high on the suspect list. They've done a search for their home. There's going to be some things that are going to be done electronically to figure out who was in that crime scene. Like I said, this is going to be solved.
Okay. So what I'm trying to say is I get it from both sides of this with you and me, but give the people an insight. You and I mean, this is the layman 48 hours ID channel right now.
Mm-hmm.
This real talk. You and I, we have this case because if you're asking me, fingers are pointing at the Urbans, right?
Hell yeah.
Okay, all right. So, but okay, because it sounded like you weren't saying that. But I just wanted you were saying that you didn't want the.
I'm saying if
charge.
I'm investigating this, I'm not saying that publicly that I'm looking at the Irwins. I'm not saying that because I don't want the Irwins to go underground and disappear.
Got you. Got you. Because right now we haven't pulled them in as witnesses and or people of interest, and we haven't put them in under arrest. So those are different levels of this. There's enough evidence to charge a person with a crime, and then there's a point of a person of interest. Kevin, when you get a chance, maybe just break it down for the people out there listening. What's a person of interest in lieu of a person charged with a crime?
Well, I mean, it's pretty simple, right? The person of interest is people we, for one reason or another, we have some sort of suspicion about them, right? Irwins would definitely be a person of interest, no matter what other evidence exists right now, because they were the last ones to see him alive. That's, pretty normal. Mm-hmm. And you look at the body is found in the same town, which is not the town where he lives. The Irwins become very high on your priority list. Right. But they're a person of interest because, if you don't have that probable cause yet, you don't have enough evidence to deem them as something else. You don't. But internally, if this was me and you working in the office and not sitting here talking, out in the crowd, we would probably deem them together as suspects, and you and I would be investigated as suspects, right? There's how I say it publicly, and this how I say it sitting next to you in an office, going through the case file.
Exactly, because we're going to go through their whole jacket and find out everything about the Gavins, tooth and nail, high and fro, everything that has not been said or said. We would be going through it. Now, the family has taken an approach of they're treating this with it's just a black child. Like, what's your take on that? I mean,
well, first of all, Mom, I can't believe how incredible of a woman she is, right? I don't know this woman, and I know she's an incredible woman. To allow her son's photo, right? She is the one who released that photo of him after death. As a parent to see that, you can't get any worse in life, right? Like that's your child. So there's no worse feeling, but she released that photo because she wanted this out there and she wants something done. And God bless her. God bless her strength. She's saying she wants something done with the mother, and the mother didn't have permission to take her boy. He's 15. The other kid was 17. Have I ever picked up my kids' friends?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that part, I can't say anything bad about. If
so
the
let me
kid
ask
was 15, would I have called the mother and said,
Stay there with me right there. Stay there with me. When you say that, are you saying that from a parental standpoint, or are you saying that from or a person that is not trying to say they did something wrong yet?
No, as a parental standpoint, right? Like I'm saying, I've driven my kids' friends to places at the age of 15 without talking to their parents. At the age of 13, 12, hell yeah, I spoke to one of their parents and they knew where their kid was, right? But 15, we're starting to hit that age where, your kid goes out.
Do you need a ride? They're going to a game. Do you need a ride?
Yeah. I don't, and if you look at how the father said the kid left, right? That the kid said, where was it? It's later in that article, right? The father said something to the kid, and the kid's, I'm going out kind of deal. He didn't give much of an answer.
You have the
So the
article
father
right there.
trusted him enough where he didn't, demand like multiple things. Or where are you? What time? I want you back at this time. The father felt the kid was responsible enough to go out on his own. So I got to believe he would have been all right with jumping in that car with a friend, and a parent.
So I know there was a discrepancy between the mother and the father. I'm assuming when I say discrepancy, I'm just talking about lack of communication because she was under the assumption that she was picking him up from getting a haircut, and that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened with that situation, but that's either near or there with the fact that the young boy, is found dead and his face is disfigured in the sugarcane fields of Louisiana. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host Kevin Branzetti. And if you like it, share it. We are trying to bring light to the death of Kawan Bobby Charles. The parents have released the photos of his picture. If you go on my page, I've shared them. His face is disfigured, and reminiscent of Emmett Till in I think 1955. And how his face was disfigured. I think she just wanted to bring light. In fact, that this couldn't have been just a drowning. This had to have been some kind of act of violence amongst him, towards him. And with that being said, it came into question where they felt Louisiana PD had kind of dropped the ball. So Kevin and I have put on our think tank hats, and we tried to give you the best insight on what it was like from a law enforcement standpoint in solving this kind of crime, because this kind of crime is very delicate when we get these kind of calls of missing and abducted or Amber Alert children. So I had Kevin earlier break down the differences in these cases. And Kevin, if you can, real quick, before I read the last paragraph, just give them a breakdown, a real quick synopsis again of a missing, an Amber Alert, and a runaway.
So an Amber Alert, very simple, has to be some sort of reasonable belief that the kid was abducted. So if there's nothing to show there was an abduction, there is no Amber Alert, period. Okay. The missing, this we call like special category missing, where there's, whether it's age, something, mentally defective with the kid or challenge with the kid, or a belief that the kid was abducted. And then that gets a special category, and you go, crazy trying to find. And then there's just missing. And this is the forgotten category, what I believe the mistreated category, where we just treat them as they're missing, and they'll, we'll take the report and they'll be home when they come home.
Thank you. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster. That's my co-host, Kevin Branzetti, and we're just trying to get to the bottom. Let me tell you something. This is Real Talk, even Real Talk in the death of Kawan Bobby Charles. The bottom line is we want some closure for this family. We want to find out who did this, if this was it's deemed a homicide. So let's get to the answers. Let's get to the bottom of this and find out who committed this heinous crime to this young man. And last but not least, I'm going to read this. I would say the Post reported that police have also not called the death a homicide at that time. Still, Kawan's mother sees it differently. According to the Post, at a recent vigil of her son, Nelson said, "I want the lady who came to get my son without my permission, his dad's permission, to be held accountable. She took them to her house. He was alive and well when he was here, and now he is dead." What do you think about that?
Mom can say no wrong in this world at this point. Her being upset with, if it turns out the Irwins killed her son, should clearly be upset with it. But if it turns out he was killed after leaving the Irwins' house, I don't see anything wrong with this mother picking her up. Bill, it really depends upon what transpired. He was 15 years old. I don't think Mrs. Irwin, whatever her first name is, had to call her up and say, is it all right if your son comes with me? They picked
Well,
him up
yeah,
from his
okay.
house. They picked him up
Hopefully,
from his house. They didn't pick him up out, at some mall or school or street. They picked him up from his house. He got into the car. They then drove into the driveway of his house. They all got out of the car, went into his backyard, and then went back into his car. Like, this was not a sneaky, it's different if you pick your kid up and a couple other kids and you're off, you're out of sight. But this is from the kid's house.
well, one thing, Kev, I think we would definitely. I'm gonna stay real on top of this case because there are a lot of gaps right now. There are a lot of holes in this. Shout out to Grace, Terrence Smith in the building, former 2-8 colleague. We are in the building, 2-8 strong in the building. Um, I think there's a lot of holes in this case because and I think maybe we haven't got more of the story as the investigators are doing, supposedly, or hopefully, that they're doing their job because the bottom line is, like you said, to say, Mom, my friend needs a ride to the game. We're going to the game. Okay, we can go pick him up. To drive somebody's son or daughter, depend if like my daughter says that, you're right. Not every parent is going to know the other parent in lieu of you know driving their child to a game. The bottom line of it, I may hear the names. Okay, Billy, you're hanging with Kevin. Kevin, Billy, Kevin, Kevin. Okay, I'm picking up Billy, and Kevin needs a ride. Okay, I'm gonna take Kevin. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna leave Kevin out there. So, do you think that the mother has any credence in what she's asking for in lieu of any charges and things of that magnitude?
I don't think there's a charge for that. And maybe, look, there could be something in Texas law saying, you know, the mom did something wrong by picking the kid up. Look, let's figure out who murdered the kid, and then we can go backwards and say, should that mother have picked him up, and was there something else that happened? But I don't think at 15 that's an issue. He left on his. Gotta keep going back to it, right? He left. He told Dad. Dad wasn't overly concerned of where he was going. Didn't ask. This is from Dad's statement, right? The kid got into the car at his house. He was picked up. It wasn't off the street somewhere. I think that just may be the norm there. It's the norm with a lot of us.
Yeah, and I totally agree. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host, Kevin Branzetti. And we were just trying to bring some light to Kawan Bobby Charles, the young 15-year-old boy that was killed in Louisiana sugarcane fields. He was found. His face was disfigured. His parents is crying foul because initially it was deemed a drowning. Kevin gave some insight into the drowning. With that being said, we come to find out that it's deemed now a homicide. This is Real Talk Chronicles. Like it and share it. We're not going to hold you too long tonight because there are a lot of things going on. The NBA draft is about to happen. Let's go, Knicks. I'm trying to get a good pick. The Mets in New York, Robinson Cano has just tested positive, or PFD. Is that what I said properly? And the thing is, Kevin doesn't have an extra babysitter in the house, and and it's cold. It's a cold day in New York. It's a cold day all over in New York City. Remember, COVID-19 is prominent. Please wear your mask. We have a president-elect. We have a president that hasn't even talked about that. Next week, Kevin and I will delve deeper into that. This Saturday, I will be speaking at the Circle of Sisters. I will be a panelist at the Circle of Sisters with Ramani Malco, Raheem Devant, and myself, Real Talk Chronicles CEO, and hosted by Lenny Green of WBLS and other stations syndicated. Circle of Sisters is a worldwide situation organization that is powerful. So with that being said, everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. Kevin, give them some words of love and wisdom before we get out of here.
Oh, you really
Thank you
let me
all.
off early tonight, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Listen, man, let me tell you something. Go.
I was going to give you on this, but can I
No,
go?
man. I told you it was gonna be short tonight. I told you it was
The draft
for
really
the
means something to you. You can, yeah.
for the first time in probably like Real Talk Chronicles history. It probably went an hour, and it's going to be an hour and 2 minutes, an hour and 3 minutes.
Well, I'm going to
Listen,
get you in trouble now. Watch this. I'm going to have to let your wife know that for the draft, you'll leave early.
Malika, look over my shoulder and tell Kevin something.
She got her headphones on.
Kevin said, he said, you're letting me go early for the draft.
So Malika, hello Malika. So for the draft, he can leave early. I just want you to understand. I'm getting him in trouble. That's it.
Everybody, listen. This is Real Talk Chronicles. That's my host Kevin Branzetti, my co-host Kevin Branzetti. That's my lovely wife Malika Foster. She comes back with small business Tuesday. This Tuesday coming up, yes, sir. This Tuesday coming up, she comes back with small business owners. That's her personal segment because she's a small business owner also. So if you're a small business owner and you want to be interviewed, please reach out to her or myself or Kevin right now at the time. If you have topics that you want to bring up, if you want to hear Kevin and I talk about, that's fine. Or you just want to hear me talk about, that's fine too. The first Monday of every month, I have Assemblyman Al Taylor in the building. Real Talk with Assemblyman Al Taylor. On December 14th, I have the man, the legend, Uncle Ralph McDaniels in the building with the original crowd motivated DJ Ace, talking about everything from that era of hip hop and music to just politics and police reform. Kevin and I here every Wednesday, and we just talk about anything and everything. But a lot of times, it may start off with law enforcement parts, but it can talk about anything because the bottom line is that's what it is. It's real talk and it's organic. The third Monday of every month, I have Real Talk with Allison Williams. We just did a segment in lupus, and we'll do more segments and things of that magnitude. Marquetta, I see you. Hello, how are you? Not sure about those Knicks. Don't talk about my Knicks. Be easy with them. Everybody knows I got issues. I love my Knicks. I'm a New Yorker. I die hard. Listen, Yankees, Mets, Knicks, Nets, Giants, Jets, Rangers, Islanders, and Cosmos. All right. So listen, I'm New York all the way, baby. I don't care.
Is there a Cosmos?
Yeah, whatever they call. What do they call? Cosmos. What do they call? What's a soccer team exactly?
Yeah,
I don't know what they are. Let me tell you something. But if it's a New York team, if it's a New York Squirts, I'm or the Juveniles. I am New York ride or die. Now, don't get me wrong. If there are other teams, I kind of jump on the side of it. You know what I mean? I got my alternate. And with that being said, it is what it is. It's New York, baby, all the way. And let me tell you something. One thing about Real Talk Chronicles in the upcoming year, we will be talking about so many different things. We were talking about relationships. We were talking about politics. We're just talking about anything and everything. The beautiful thing about it is it's real talk, and that's what we're going to do. So, Kevin, give him some love. Tell him something nice before you say good night. I want you to have a good week before I see you again.
All right.
And
So,
go ahead.
well, my usual spiel of the one thing is for everybody, shut it down one day a week, shut it off. You can't change it. You can't change the news. This stuff's going to frustrate you. Stuff's going to anger you. Take a day off from social media. Take a day off from the news. Spend some time with the family. Go read a book. Do whatever. It'll be there the next day. We're going to go through some interesting times the next few weeks. We didn't talk politics. Talk about that, Kevin. We didn't talk politics tonight, but I will. But I will say.
I mean, but let me ask you a question real quick before we go. What's your insight? Your man hasn't conceded yet. You know what I'm saying? And I say your man with no disrespect, because I only say that because I know you under a Republican Party.
Yeah.
The first, the Republicans. Go ahead.
I'll say a couple of things with that. If Trump was up in a few of those states and Biden was the one down, would you be on the side of the lawsuits and other things? And the answer is yeah. Like I told you, but I expected lawsuits whoever was behind, and I expected this to be a pain in the ass. Do I expect to see? Was there some foul play out there? Of course, there was a little bit on both sides. 100%. Enough to make a difference? No, but voter fraud exists, right? I think it exists on both sides. It's just part of the game.
So let me ask you a question, Kevin, and I'm glad you said that, because the bottom line is you said something earlier. If the shoe was on the other foot, the bottom line is, do you think people would have been calling a voter fraud if Trump would have won?
Yes.
Who would have said it though?
The other side,
not the Trumpers.
No, the other side.
Yeah, but the bottom line is,
the loser's the one who's going to say it. That's what I'm getting at. Like I expected that from the beginning. I expected the loser to say it, right? This was such a heated, nasty, contested thing that people were so wound up on from both sides.
Listen, we will talk. We will pick this up next week.
Do I think he's acting? But understand this, Bill. Do I think he's acting appropriately? No.
Okay.
Also understand, like he can have his people look at those things and make sure those states and the counts are proper. That's fine with me. He should still. This is my problem from Trump with day one. He could still act like the president. He could invite Biden in and say, "Listen, you're it. You've won, but I am going to check on these states. And if it turns out something went wrong in 4 states and it gets flipped, we're going to have a problem."
So let me ask you a question.
He could handle this differently. And I'm not talking to you. I'm still the president. I'm not conceding. Like, wah.
So let me ask you a question before I let you go. And I'm just going to assume that you in 2016 you voted for him. I'm just going to assume that. Did you ever think that he would not do what he's supposed to do as a president, as a person and a president?
Did I think he would? Did I think he'd be immature from day one? No, I didn't think that. I didn't think anybody can be to the level that he went to.
Exactly. No. Do you regret voting for him? Yeah, I get you with that one, baby. Body blow.
I still wish Bloomberg won the Democratic primary this year and was president. That's my answer.
Okay. All right.
That's
the Real Talk Chronicles shuffle, everybody. Kevin.
Yeah.
That's the Real Talk shuffle. That's a Real Talk shuffle.
I don't like most of them, and I don't like a lot of them on the right either. I think the overwhelming majority of them, I'd like to see them all wear body cameras.
I get it. You know what's so funny, Kevin?
That's what I'd like to see.
I get it. The sad thing about it is that my man Darren Joseph in the building. What's up, Darren? He said, "Come on, Kev, you can say it." Well, you know what's so funny? Maybe he doesn't want to say it, Darren. I think that's where it happens. Where I think people want to understand the difference between morals, humanitarian, Republican. You say that you don't like his idea. I mean, not his ideologies, the way he handles himself, but you kind of dance around those good questions about should he or shouldn't have, like you say you don't like the way he's handling himself. Would that have been enough for you not to vote for him? I mean, I think I personally.
Well, Hillary's different. Go
ahead. I'll stay on for this.
Trump and Hillary is a different. There are things I don't like about Biden, but Biden personally, I like Biden, right? Like personally, I like Biden. Do I think there's some fugazi stuff between him and his son and some things? Yeah, I think at minimum inappropriate. I'll call it. Right. But I also think that's the norm in the Senate, right? I don't think Biden was an exception. I think Republicans and Democrats both get their family members nice, cushy jobs. because of their positions. So I think that's the normal. What would I have done in 2016 in hindsight? She was a candidate I couldn't stand either.
Okay, so
that's a
let's keep it 100. Let's keep it real talk. Correct me.
And no, Mark, I do not have a poster in my room.
So let me ask you. I mean, let's put it out there. I'm not going to ask you about the 2020. They can ask you. I'll let everybody ask you about 2020, but I'll ask you about.
We got people talking now. We were leaving, and now we got people talking.
Yeah, you start talking about the politics. People want to know this shit. This is the shit. So let me ask you a question. 2016. Did you vote for Trump?
Yep.
Okay, good. 2016, and I'm cool with that. 2016, you voted for Trump. All right, it is what it is. You can't stand Hillary for whatever reason. You might have voted for Trump for political, or just you didn't like Hillary. Got you.
Yeah,
Let's go. Stay with me.
A little more background. No, you're gonna give me a little chance because now you got that. To me, Trump was like a third party candidate, right? Like I voted for Ross Perot years ago.
Oh
right?
my God! Wow.
Oh yeah. That's one for you. Yeah. It's why I like Bloomberg. It was the non-politician. I don't like politicians.
Okay.
There are a few.
So if I run for office, boy, I need to see Kevin Branzetti by my side, baby.
Yeah. Well, you're not a politician. See?
No, you know that. You know that. I'm liked and loved too and hated too much to be a politician.
Yeah.
So let's go there with that in lieu of now we're at 2020. I'm not like I said, I'm not going to ask you. I let everybody else ask you, but I'm not going to ask you. He's done everything lack of presidential. And this is what bothers me with a lot of law enforcement people. They talk about respecting the uniform, respecting the badge, respecting this country. But you watch a man disrespect the Oval Office and you co-signed it. Not you. I'm just talking about people. You know what I'm saying? And then they're saying, well, wait a minute. He changed the country around. He ain't changed shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
I don't get it. Like anybody who could say he wasn't disgraceful to the Oval Office. Like I don't know what you've watched for 4 years. Are there policies of him I agree with? Yeah, 100%. There are several policies of his I agree with, and there's several I completely disagree with. Mm-hmm. But you can't say he wasn't disgraceful.
Oh yeah,
you can't. You just can't say it. Like it's not.
Yeah. He was a piece of shit.
He was exactly. A child. He was a child.
He was like a grown up Chucky. If anybody wanted to know what Chucky was like as an adult, that was him. Mark said, okay, Kevin. He said, all jokes aside, Kevin, you might get a call from his team to run his detail. What would you do?
To run Trump's detail?
Yeah.
What's it paying?
Yo, Mark, everybody has a price for the money. That's what it is, baby. Everybody can be bought.
Do I hear he's a decent man to people who work for him? Sure. Would I work for him? No. Bloomberg's detail, I would do. Trump's, I could not see myself ever doing. Would I have loved to have talked to him while he was in the Oval Office 2 years ago? 100%. If I had an opportunity to. Would I have hopefully not held back and said what I felt? Yeah, one would hope.
Let me ask you a question. With that being said, and all that being said, are you glad he lost? Are you glad he...
I told you not long before the election that I think the country, yes, the answer is short, yes. But I think the country is better off with Biden and a Republican Congress.
Okay.
Right? I think, I'd like to see the days, and I haven't seen them since Clinton and Reagan, where both sides really kind of talked and were friendly. Mm-hmm. I don't know if Biden's going to be able to, if he is a uniter. We'll see. He's been around a long time, and he should have friends.
78 million voted for him, right? 73 million voted for dude. It's, that's that's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
I think it's the most election, most people came out to vote ever in history. In history,
Which part is good? But what you got, Bill, what you got to understand is this. So like, there's different categories of people who voted for Trump, right? There are those the people Trump even himself described as he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they'd still vote for him. Like there's that crew, the ones who think he was a proper president. They exist. There's lots of them. Then there's those who agree with his policies and can hold their nose to him and go, he's rude, he's disrespectful, but he's doing things that I agree with. So I'd rather have the disrespectful person who I'm sort of used to at this point, right? Like it's gotten ugly. I'd rather have the disrespectful person in office who has the same political beliefs as me than the guy who doesn't have the same political beliefs. There's a lot of those.
But you know what's so funny? Those same individuals are so hypocritical because those are the individuals that will say, when somebody else says something that they don't like or wear something that they don't approve of, will say how lack of presidential they are. You understand what I'm saying?
Bill, this world's packed with hypocrites.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I said why I don't think people should, pay attention and see what's happened. But I limit the complaining about, him contesting a bunch of states, because I think it would have happened the other way around. And then, the Biden supporters would have been all for Biden, would have been screaming for Biden to contest states that were close. Right. This is the mistake we make with politics. If it's our side, it's okay. If it's the other side, it's not okay. But when it's quick flipped, we jump ship immediately, right?
Well, like I told people, I mean, and I always say this for anybody in law enforcement, no matter who wins, really, we both kind of win. It doesn't affect any law enforcement person, Republican or Democrat. The bottom line is it's just all about who you ethically feel deemed presidential to me. Like I said, so I had somebody ask me a question. He's like, yo, if Trump wins or Biden wins, does it hurt you or help you anyway? I said, no, it doesn't. Not at all. I said, the bottom line is that the fact of it is, I said, he's a disgrace to my people. He doesn't do anything presidential for my people, and he doesn't do anything for me personally. So there isn't any way I can co-sign and put a signature behind his name, because the bottom line is, I think he's divisive. I think I've seen more white and black people go at each other, and black and brown people go at each other. I've seen people call each other out of names due to this dude. Right now, there are people out here marching. They just last week marched on Washington, D.C. They called it the mega million march. There's only 10,000 people. Sorry, everybody out there.
But that's normal. But don't complain about that march. Like, to me, I won't complain about that march. You can't. If the march stays polite, I don't care about it, right? If they get violent, my opinion, lock them up, right? I don't care what side you are.
Right.
But people have been marching, against Trump for forever. So now if they have somebody marching for him,
not forever, only 4 years, because he ain't been around long. He ain't been that
for 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. He ain't been that popular. They've been marching against a lot of people of color for a lot of years. But the bottom line is, old boy has done a lot not to pacify the love for people. No. You know what I'm saying? Because there's people that I've had to defriend or defriended me, because unfriend me, whatever words, because of his punk ass. And I don't, and it's so funny. It became personal, and it's okay, because the bottom line is they didn't respect my views, and I didn't like theirs, so I was okay with that, and I'll lose 1,000 people for what my integrity. You understand what I'm trying to say? Thousands of people.
100%. That's why I'm sitting here and I'm talking, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. And you messing with me, you're gonna lose some.
I might, but they're not like Facebook friends aren't like.
No, exactly.
Like if somebody doesn't talk to me at a reunion, like, I don't. Whatever. I call it the way I see it.
But and that's why you're here, and that's why everybody. This is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host Kevin Branzetti, and we're just giving you real talk. The bottom line is whether you like it or not, it's our opinion and it's personal because it's our opinion, and we're giving you what it is. So, with that being said, and all that being said, for those that's just worried about what's going on in the NBA draft, uh, Mr. Edwards, I think, has gone to one team. What's the first team that was picked? Minnesota Timberwolves, the young stud. Uh, the center went to Golden State Warriors, and the Hornets just selected Alonzo Lamelo Ball. So I am anxiously anticipating what the Knicks will do.
Who do
So
you
I'm a
want?
diehard. Huh?
Who do you want them to pick?
I have no idea. I just want,
How
I just
bad
want
is
them to,
that?
I just want them to pick a game changer, Kev. I
But you
really,
don't know who the game changer is. So
well, you know what I want? I want somebody as they consider in the top because they're the experts. I mean, college balls, a lot of street ball credibility as a basketball player, but the experts say Tyrese Hallenberg. They say a point guard. They say a small forward. They say a bunch of people. It seemed like Michael Jordan just drafted Lamelo Ball. So I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen right now. We're going to see what's going to happen. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host Bill Forster with my man Kevin Branzetti in the building. We're gonna say goodnight because the bottom line, Kevin got to keep them kids, and Malika got to do what she do. I'm Bill Forster. That's Kevin Branzetti. Listen, if you got something that you want us to talk about, inbox us, write us, subscribe to YouTube, Real Talk Chronicles, like it, share it. Tell your friends, tell your family, share the word. Everybody, good night. Real talk.
good night.